The fluorescent lights of Kepler Station's medical bay hummed with antiseptic sterility as Silas Mercer completed the dermal regeneration treatment on Lieutenant Rodriguez's forearm. The portable mining laser had malfunctioned during a routine maintenance check, scorching a jagged line from wrist to elbow. Nothing serious. The kind of injury Silas could treat in his sleep after 3 tours as a combat medic in the Proxima Centauri conflict, before accepting this posting as chief physician on humanity's farthest orbital research station. "Good as new, Lieutenant," Silas said, powering down the regenerator. "Though I'd suggest having engineering take a closer look at that laser before you fire it up again." Rodriguez flexed his arm, the fresh pink skin stretching naturally. "Thanks, Doctor. Got lucky, I guess." "Luck had nothing to do with it. My exceptional skill, however." Silas winked, his attempt at humor landing with a thud in the sterile room. His bedside manner had deteriorated during the 6 months of isolation on Kepler. The station housed only 32 crew members, and the social dynamics had calcified into predictable patterns that left Silas feeling increasingly detached. As Rodriguez departed, Silas turned to the holographic display, where the station's artificial intelligence interface hovered in electric blue. "Mara, update patient file and schedule a follow-up in 48 hours. "Updating records," Mara replied, her simulated voice carrying the precise, emotionless tone that reminded everyone she was a tool, not a person. "Dr. Mercer, I've received an alert from Central Command. The diplomatic envoy to the Vorik Empire has reported increased military activity near our sector. Security protocols have been elevated to Level 2. Silas frowned. Relations with the Vorak had been deteriorating for months. The alien species had expanded aggressively through 3 star systems before encountering humanity, and the subsequent peace had always felt tenuous. Recent disputes over mining rights in the Epsilon Eridani system had escalated tensions further. "Any specific threats to Kepler?" Silas asked, organizing the medical supplies with practiced efficiency. "Negative. The station's civilian research designation provides diplomatic protection under Interstellar Accord 47B. Silas nodded absently. Political machinations meant little to him. His responsibility was to keep the crew healthy, regardless of what transpired beyond the station's walls. He had witnessed enough conflict to last several lifetimes. "Schedule a diagnostic on the emergency surgical systems," he instructed, "just in case." "Initiating diagnostic," Mara confirmed. "Shall I prioritize trauma protocols?" "Yes, and make sure—" The medical bay doors hissed open unexpectedly, cutting Silas off mid-sentence. The figure that staggered through the entrance was unlike anything he had ever seen on Kepler Station. Tall and lean. The intruder wore close-fitting armor that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, swirls of amber and gold that seemed to flow like liquid across the surface. But the beauty of the armor contrasted sharply with the state of its wearer. Purple-black blood oozed from multiple wounds in the being's torso, and one arm hung at an unnatural angle. Most alarming was the military-grade pulse rifle clutched in its functioning hand. Silas recognized the species immediately: Vorak. The elongated skull and 4-fingered hands were unmistakable from briefing materials, though he had never treated one, or even seen one in person. The Vorak assassin took 3 more stumbling steps before collapsing to her knees. Silas could now see the feminine features of her face, high cheekbones and large, compound eyes that glinted like polished obsidian. Those eyes locked onto his with terrifying intensity. "Silas Mercer," she rasped in accented English, raising the weapon with trembling effort. "You are... target." Despite the immediate threat, Silas's medical training kicked in automatically. The Vorak was hemorrhaging severely, her breathing labored. Without intervention, she would die within minutes. "Mara, security alert," he said calmly, raising his hands to show they were empty. "And access xenobiology database for Vorak physiology." "Security alerted. Accessing database. Mera responded. Warning. Intruder armed and dangerous. The Vorak assassin's weapon wavered, her strength clearly failing. Data! Must retrieve. She attempted to stand, but slumped further instead, the rifle clattering to the floor as her hand lost its grip. Silas made his decision in that moment, one that would alter the course of interspecies relations forever, though he couldn't have known it then. He moved toward the fallen assassin, medical instincts overriding self-preservation. I'm a doctor, he said firmly. You're bleeding out. Let me help you. The Vorak's eyes widened in what might have been surprise. Why would you? Because you'll die otherwise. Silas answered simply, kneeling beside her. And I don't let patients die, even ones who came to kill me. He carefully moved the pulse rifle away with his foot, then examined the worst of her wounds, a deep laceration across the abdomen that pulsed with dark fluid. Her armor had partially sealed around the injury, but the bleeding was too severe for the integrated systems to manage. Mera, status on the xenobiology data? Limited information available on Vorak physiology. Their medical data is classified by imperial decree. I can provide basic anatomical structure, but no treatment protocols. Silas cursed under his breath. Give me what you have. And where's that security team? Security personnel are responding to multiple breaches. Station lockdown initiated. Estimated arrival to Medical Bay. 7 minutes. Multiple breaches. This wasn't a lone assassin. It was an incursion. But why target him? Silas pushed the question aside, focusing on the immediate crisis. The holographic display flickered with rudimentary Vorak anatomical diagrams. 4-chambered heart located centrally in the thoracic cavity. Triple-lobed lungs. Circulatory system utilizing copper-based hemocyanin rather than iron-based hemoglobin, explaining the purple-black blood. Not enough, Silas muttered. I need cellular structure, clotting mechanisms. He helped the Vorak onto the examination table, her armor surprisingly light, despite its appearance of solidity. As he cut away the material around her wound, something unexpected caught his eye. Beneath the alien skin, a network of fine golden filaments pulsed with rhythmic light, like bioluminescent capillaries running parallel to her actual veins. What is this? He wondered aloud, mesmerized by the intricate pattern. The assassin's eyes had grown unfocused, but she seemed to understand his question. Neural network, she managed. Failing. Silas's mind raced. If those filaments were indeed a neural network, they might function similarly to the human nervous system, but with bioluminescent properties. The diminishing light could indicate systemic failure. Mera, prepare a bioelectric stimulator and adapt it to variable frequencies. Caution, Dr. Mercer. Applying human medical technology to unknown alien physiology exceeds safety protocols. Note your objection and prepare the stimulator anyway, Silas ordered, applying pressure to the abdominal wound. The assassin's breathing had grown more shallow, her eyes losing focus. Stay with me, he urged. What's your name? The question seemed to surprise her. Sala, she whispered after a moment. 16th Scout of House Tella. Sala, I'm going to try something experimental. Your neural network is failing, but I think I can stimulate it electrically to maintain function while I repair your wounds. Sala's eyes widened slightly. Our medicine cannot. This isn't your medicine, Silas replied, accepting the stimulator from the medical robot that Mera controlled. Human innovation tends to thrive in desperate situations. He calibrated the device quickly, then hesitated. If he was wrong about the nature of the golden filaments, the electrical stimulation could kill her instantly, but doing nothing would result in certain death. This might hurt, he warned. Then pressed the stimulator against her exposed abdomen, where the golden network glowed most prominently. Sala's body arched violently as the electrical current pulsed through the bioluminescent filaments. For one terrible moment, Silas thought he had killed her. But then the golden network flared brighter, its rhythm strengthening and stabilizing. Sala gasped, her eyes flying open with renewed clarity. "Incredible," she breathed, staring at him with something approaching awe. "Don't celebrate yet," Silas cautioned, already moving to staunch the bleeding with a regenerative matrix. "You've lost a lot of blood, and I don't have Vorak plasma for transfusion." "The armor," Sala said, her voice stronger. "Internal reservoir. Medical function." Silas quickly located what appeared to be a control interface on the armor's shoulder. When activated, a viscous purple fluid began flowing from hidden compartments into Sala's circulatory system. A sophisticated field medic setup, he realized. Yet the armor hadn't deployed it automatically. "Why didn't this activate earlier?" he asked, continuing to work on closing her wounds. Sala's expression darkened. "Mission, priority override. Medical functions, disabled until objective complete." "And that objective was killing me." Silas met her gaze directly. "Why? What could a station doctor possibly have done to warrant assassination?" "Not assassination," Sala corrected, strength returning to her voice as the armor's medical system supplemented Silas's treatment. "Extraction, your research, neural pathway regeneration, Vorak need." Silas frowned. His work on neural pathway regeneration was preliminary at best. Treatments for degenerative conditions in the human nervous system. He'd published one paper on the subject 2 years ago, but it was hardly groundbreaking. "Why not just request the data? We share medical advances with allied species." "Not allied," Sala reminded him. "And plague spreading. Neural decay affecting military leadership. Diplomatic requests denied." The pieces clicked together in Silas's mind. A neural plague among the Vorak leadership, desperate enough to send assassins to steal research that might help them, even if it was designed for human physiology. Before he could respond, Mara's voice interrupted with urgency. "Warning, armed intruders approaching medical bay. Vorak biosignatures detected. Estimated arrival, 30 seconds. Silas completed the final seal on Sala's abdominal wound. She was stable for now, though far from fully healed. "Can you move?" he asked, already gathering essential supplies into a portable kit. Sala swung her legs off the table with visible effort. "Yes, but why help me escape? You could surrender me to your security forces." "Those aren't my security forces approaching," Silas pointed out, retrieving her pulse rifle and handing it back to her, a decision that surprised them both. "And I'm guessing they won't be pleased that you failed your mission and been treated by the enemy." A flicker of what might have been fear crossed Sala's alien features. "Korth leads this mission. He does not tolerate failure. Then we'd better not be here when he arrives." Silas activated his personal tablet. "Mara, initiate Protocol Nightingale." "Protocol Nightingale activated," Mara confirmed. "Emergency medical evacuation route unlocked. Be advised that station lockdown supersedes standard evacuation protocols. Override using medical authority code Mercer 7 Delta 3. Override accepted. Service corridor east of medical bay now accessible." Silas grabbed his medical kit and a data drive, quickly transferring files from the main system. "My research," he explained to Sala's questioning look. "Might as well bring what they came for." The medical bay doors shuddered under a heavy impact. Whoever was on the other side had abandoned subtlety. "This way," Silas urged, moving toward a panel in the eastern wall that had slid open to reveal a narrow maintenance corridor. Sala followed, her movement still stiff, but remarkably improved from her near-death state minutes earlier. They slipped into the corridor, just as the medical bay doors burst open. Through the narrowing gap, Silas caught a glimpse of armored Vorak soldiers flooding into the room, led by a commanding figure whose ornate armor pulsed with crimson rather than gold. "Find them!" the leader, presumably Korth, roared. "The doctor and the traitor cannot escape!" The panel sealed shut, plunging Silas and Sala into the dim red emergency lighting of the service corridor. The passage was designed for maintenance drones rather than humans, forcing them to move in a hunched position. "Traitor?" Silas questioned, as they hurried along the cramped space. "I failed the mission," Sala stated flatly. "Worse, I accepted enemy aid. In Vorak culture, there is no greater dishonor. Even if refusing that aid meant certain death?" "Especially then." Sala's voice carried no self-pity, only stated fact. "A honorable death serves the Empire. Survival through enemy mercy brings shame." Silas shook his head. "That's a hell of a cultural value. No wonder you're having trouble with a neural plague. Rigid thinking affects problem-solving." The corridor branched ahead, and Silas consulted his tablet for directions. "Left here. We need to reach Research Lab 3. It has an emergency evacuation pod." "They will expect us to flee the station," Sala warned. "Vorak ships patrol the approach vectors." "One problem at a time," Silas replied. "Right now, we need to—" A thunderous explosion rocked the corridor, sending them both sprawling. Emergency klaxons wailed as debris scattered around them. "They're cutting through the maintenance shafts," Sala observed, pushing herself up with a grimace of pain. The electrical stimulation of her neural network was holding, but her injuries remained severe. Silas helped her to her feet. "New plan. Through here." He pointed to a ventilation shaft exposed by the explosion. "It should connect to the research level." They climbed into the shaft, crawling through the tight space as the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. The station's ventilation system was a maze of interconnected ducts, but Silas had memorized the layout during his first week aboard, a habit from combat medicine, always knowing escape routes. "Why are you helping me?" Sala asked, as they paused at a junction. "I came to take your research by force, to take your life if necessary." Silas considered the question seriously. "Part of it is the doctor's oath. I treat anyone who needs it. But honestly, I'm tired of conflicts based on ignorance and pride. If your people need my research to survive a plague, they should have it. Even though we're enemies." "Are we? Or did politicians and generals decide that for us?" Silas peered down a shaft. "This way." They continued in silence for several minutes, before reaching a grate that opened into Research Lab 3. The spacious laboratory was deserted, emergency protocols having evacuated non-essential personnel to secure areas. Silas dropped down first, then helped Sala descend. Her condition had deteriorated during their escape. The golden neural network visible through her injuries pulsed erratically again. "Need to stabilize," she gasped, leaning heavily against a lab table. Silas guided her to a chair. "The stimulator's effect is temporary. Let me adjust it." He recalibrated the device and applied it again to her exposed neural network. The golden filaments brightened in response, their rhythm steadying. "Better," Sala acknowledged, "but not permanent." "No," Silas agreed. "You need comprehensive treatment. My research might help, but it would require adaptation for Vorak physiology." He moved to the lab's main terminal, inserting his data drive. "I'll download the complete dataset. There's an experimental prototype here too, a neural pathway stimulator designed for human patients with degenerative conditions." "That's what Korth wants," Sala confirmed, watching the data transfer progress. "Vorak military leadership is affected by a plague that degrades neural function. Traditional treatments have failed." "And no one thought to simply ask for help?" Silas couldn't keep the frustration from his voice. "Pride," Sala said simply. "Vorak do not admit weakness, especially to potential adversaries." The lab doors slid open before Silas could respond. Both of them turned to see Korth stride in, flanked by 4 armed soldiers. Unlike Sala's golden armor, Korth's pulsed with aggressive crimson patterns that matched the fury in his obsidian eyes. 16th Scout Sala," he intoned, voice resonating with authority. "You have failed your empire and accepted aid from the enemy. The penalty is death." His gaze shifted to Silas. After we extract what we need from the human. Sala raised her pulse rifle, positioning herself between Silas and the Vorak commander. He saved my life when he had every reason to let me die. His research could save thousands of our people suffering from the neural plague. You dare lecture me on our people's needs? Korth's voice dripped with contempt. I, who have watched 20 of our finest military minds deteriorate into madness from this plague? Then why refuse his help? Sala challenged. His techniques worked on me when our own medicine failed. Korth's eyes narrowed. Explain. Silas stepped forward cautiously. Her neural network was failing. I used a bioelectric stimulator calibrated to human parameters, but adjusted for what I observed in her physiology. It restored function temporarily. Impossible, Korth dismissed. Vorak medicine has attempted electrical stimulation without success. Perhaps you applied it incorrectly, Silas suggested, earning murderous glares from the Vorak soldiers. Look, I can demonstrate. Your own neural network is showing signs of degradation. This observation visibly startled Korth. How could you know that? The rhythm of your bioluminescence is irregular compared to your soldiers. Microtremors in your left hand. Slight discoloration around your neural nodes. Silas gestured to the barely perceptible symptoms. Early stages, but progressive. Korth's hand twitched involuntarily, confirming Silas's diagnosis. For a moment, conflict played across the commander's features, pride warring with self-preservation. You could kill me with your device, he said finally. I could, Silas acknowledged. Just as Sala could have killed me when she first arrived. Instead, we're both alive because someone took a chance on saving an enemy. Silence filled the laboratory as Korth weighed his options. Finally, he turned to his soldiers. Guard the perimeter. No one enters. The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances, but obeyed, moving to secure the laboratory entrances. Korth approached Silas with regal bearing despite his condition. Proceed, human, but know that my soldiers will execute you both at the first sign of treachery. Fair enough, Silas replied, gesturing to an examination table. Lie down and remove your chest armor. As Korth complied with surprising dignity, Sala moved closer to Silas. This is unprecedented, she whispered. No Vorak commander has ever submitted to alien medical treatment. Desperation breeds innovation, Silas murmured, preparing his equipment. When Korth had removed the necessary armor, Silas saw confirmation of his suspicions. The commander's neural network showed distinct deterioration, golden filaments dull and sluggish in their pulsation. Advanced compared to general population cases, Korth stated clinically, as if discussing someone else's condition. Military leadership affected first and most severely. 17 dead already. Silas nodded, making rapid calculations. I'm going to apply a more sophisticated version of what I used on Sala. This prototype stimulator can target specific neural pathways and enhance regeneration. He calibrated the device carefully, aware that the lives of countless Vorak, and potentially the peace between their species, depended on his success. The prototype was untested, even on humans, but the principle was sound. This will be uncomfortable, he warned. Korth's obsidian eyes met his. Proceed. Silas activated the stimulator, placing it directly over the primary neural cluster in Korth's chest. The commander's body went rigid, a guttural sound escaping his throat as the device pulsed with carefully modulated energy. For several agonizing seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the golden filaments began to brighten. The erratic pulsing steadied, then strengthened, until Korth's entire neural network glowed with healthy luminescence. When Silas removed the stimulator, Korth lay motionless, eyes closed. Sala tensed beside him, pulse rifle half raised. Then, Korth's eyes snapped open, blazing with clarity. The tremors, he said in wonder, raising his hand. They're gone. Silas nodded, relief washing through him. The treatment isn't permanent yet. You'll need regular sessions until your neural pathways fully regenerate. But it works. Corvith sat up slowly, examining his rejuvenated neural network with undisguised amazement. In minutes, you accomplished what our best medical minds failed to achieve in months. Different perspectives yield different solutions, Silas replied. Human medicine evolved separately from Vorak traditions. Sometimes the outsider sees what those within cannot. Corvith turned to Sala. You were right to protect him. Then, to Silas. And you were right to save her, though it violated every protocol. The moment of understanding was shattered by the laboratory doors sliding open. A Vorak soldier burst in, armor scorched from weapons fire. Commander, station security has mobilized. They've retaken 3 sectors and are converging on our position. Extraction window closing rapidly. Corvith rose from the table, his decision already made. Change of mission parameters. We take the human doctor and his research willingly. No casualties unless absolutely necessary. Sir? The soldier's confusion was evident. That is an order, Corvith stated with renewed authority. Sala, assist the doctor in gathering what he needs. 2 minutes to extraction. As the soldier retreated to relay instructions, Silas hurriedly packed his prototype and the data drive. Sala helped him gather additional supplies. Did you expect this outcome when you came to kill me? Silas asked quietly. I came to retrieve data, not necessarily to kill you, Sala corrected. But no, this exceeds all parameters of the mission. A pause. And of my experience. Corvith rejoined them, fully armored once more. Our shuttle awaits in Docking Bay 2. We fight our way there if necessary. There's another option, Silas suggested. Research Lab 3 has its own evacuation pod, small but FTL capable. It's designed for preserving critical research in case of catastrophic station failure. Show me, Corvith demanded. Silas led them to a seemingly ordinary wall panel that concealed a compact evacuation vessel, barely large enough for 3 occupants, but equipped with essential life support and a rudimentary faster-than-light drive. It's programmed with emergency coordinates only, Silas explained as he activated the hidden system. Earth Orbital Station or Luna Base. Earth, Corvith decided immediately. If this treatment works, we need to negotiate a formal medical exchange. That requires highest authority. The sound of weapons fire echoed from the corridor outside. Corvith activated his communications device. All units, fall back to extraction point. Delay pursuit but minimize casualties. The small evacuation pod hummed to life as its systems initialized. The door slid open to reveal a cramped interior, dominated by 3 acceleration couches. We have perhaps 1 minute, Corvith estimated, glancing toward the laboratory entrance. Silas quickly transferred critical supplies into the pod. As he worked, the laboratory doors shuddered under impact. Station security attempting to breach the barricaded entrance. Inside, now, Corvith ordered. He positioned himself by the laboratory door, pulse rifle ready. I will hold them off. No, Silas countered. We all go or none of us. Your condition still requires monitoring. The commander's expression was unreadable. You would risk capture to ensure my survival. I would risk it to ensure my patient's survival, Silas corrected. Get in the pod, Commander. Something like respect flickered in Corvith's obsidian eyes. He nodded once, then joined Silas and Sala in the cramped vessel. The door sealed behind them just as the laboratory entrance gave way to station security forces. Launching now, Silas announced, activating the emergency protocols. The pod detached from the station with a wrenching jolt, thrusters firing to create distance before the FTL drive could safely engage. Through the small viewport, they watched Kepler Station recede, its sleek form now marred by evidence of the brief but intense conflict. Several Vorak vessels maintained positions nearby, but made no move to intercept the small pod, presumably following Corvith's orders to stand down. Your soldiers? Silas asked. Will retreat as ordered, Corvith replied with certainty. The mission parameters have changed, but the objective is achieved. We have you and your research, willingly, rather than by force. The pod's computer announced FTL readiness. Silas activated the drive, and the stars outside blurred as the vessel accelerated beyond light speed. In the confined space, the three of them, human doctor, Vorak assassin, and Vorak commander, regarded each other with cautious assessment. Enemies by definition, allies by necessity, and perhaps something more by choice. The journey to Earth will take approximately 18 hours at this vessel's FTL capacity, Silas informed them. I should continue treatment for both of you during transit. Agreed, Corvith said, removing his chest armor once more. The neural stimulation had maintained its effect, but reinforcement would ensure continued improvement. As Silas prepared the equipment, Sala observed him with open curiosity. You had every reason to let me die, to surrender to Corvith, to fight instead of heal. Why choose mercy each time? Silas considered the question as he worked. In combat medicine, I learned that the difference between enemies often comes down to which side of the line they're born on. Beneath the uniforms and politics, biology is remarkably similar. We all bleed, suffer, and die. I decided long ago to focus on the commonality rather than the divisions. An unusual philosophy, Corvith noted, but one that may save my people. The stimulator hummed as Silas applied it to Corvith's neural network. The commander remained stoic despite the discomfort, his bioluminescent pathways responding even more readily than before. Neural plasticity is increasing, Silas observed. Your system is adapting to the treatment. When he finished with Corvith, he turned to Sala. Her condition had stabilized, but still required attention. As he treated her, their eyes met with unspoken understanding, lifesaver and the saved, connected by an act that defied protocol and politics. The 18-hour journey passed in cycles of treatment, tense conversation, and uneasy rest. Silas learned more about the neural plague devastating the Vorak leadership, a degenerative condition that had emerged shortly after exploration of a previously unknown system. Whether environmental, pathogenic, or the result of sabotage remained unclear, but the effect was undeniable. Progressive deterioration of the Vorak neural network, leading to cognitive decline and eventually death. Our medical traditions are ancient and sophisticated, Corvith explained during one treatment session, but they are based on isolation and self-reliance. The concept of incorporating alien techniques was considered heresy. Pride before survival, Silas observed. Yes, Corvith acknowledged, surprising both Silas and Sala with his candor. A flaw I now recognize, having experienced the alternative. When Earth finally appeared in the viewport, a blue-white jewel against the blackness of space, all three passengers felt the weight of what would follow. Their arrival would trigger diplomatic protocols, security measures, and political consequences none of them could fully predict. What happens when we land? Sala asked, voicing the question that hung between them. I will request direct communication with Earth Central Command, Corvith stated. As ranking Vorak military officer, I have authority to initiate emergency diplomatic protocols. And if they shoot first and ask questions later? Silas's concern was justified. Relations between humans and the Vorak Empire had deteriorated significantly. Then we trust in your philosophy, Doctor, Corvith replied with surprising calm. That beneath the politics, reason and compassion may prevail. The pod's communication system crackled to life as they entered Earth orbital space. Immediately, urgent voices demanded identification and purpose. Multiple defense platforms locked weapons onto the small vessel. Silas opened the channel. This is Dr. Silas Mercer, Kepler Station Chief Medical Officer, aboard emergency evacuation pod with 2 Vorak nationals. We request immediate diplomatic contact and medical intervention. Priority code Theta 9 Epsilon. A long pause followed. Authorities undoubtedly verifying his identity and deliberating their response. Dr. Mercer, a new voice, finally responded, authoritative and measured. This is Admiral Helena Chen, Earth Defense Command. Your arrival with Vorak nationals constitutes a significant security situation. Explain immediately. Silas glanced at his companions, then back to the communication panel. Admiral, I have Commander Korth of the Vorak military and Scout Sala aboard. They came to Kepler Station seeking medical research to combat a neural plague affecting their population. I am providing that research willingly, along with experimental treatment that has shown promising results. Another pause, longer this time. Stand by for escort to Mojave Desert Facility. Admiral Chen finally ordered. Any deviation from designated approach vector will result in immediate defensive action. Understood, Silas confirmed. Transmitting medical data now to verify our situation. He sent a condensed summary of the neural plague and his treatment approach, hoping it would support their case. Minutes later, 2 sleek interceptors appeared alongside the pod, escorting them toward Earth's surface. The Mojave Desert Facility was a classified installation Silas had only heard rumors about, a secure location for first contact scenarios and sensitive diplomatic situations. As their pod descended under escort, the vast emptiness of the desert spread below them, revealing eventually a complex of structures camouflaged to blend with the surrounding landscape. They landed on a designated pad, immediately surrounded by armed security personnel in environmental suits. Standard protocol for potential biological contamination. Silas, Sala, and Korth emerged with hands raised, understanding the delicacy of the moment. A figure approached from the main facility, Admiral Chen herself, flanked by both military and scientific staff. Her expression was guarded, but not overtly hostile. Dr. Mercer, she acknowledged. Commander Korth, this is unprecedented. As is the situation we face, Admiral, Korth replied with formal dignity. A plague threatens both our peoples if diplomatic relations collapse into open conflict. Dr. Mercer has demonstrated a treatment approach our medical tradition failed to discover. We've reviewed his preliminary data, Admiral Chen confirmed. Our xenobiology department finds it compelling. Silas stepped forward. Admiral, Commander Korth and Scout Sala require ongoing treatment. The neural regeneration process is still in its early stages. Chen studied them for a moment, then nodded to her staff. Prepare the medical containment lab, full monitoring, but proceed with Dr. Mercer's treatment protocol. The next 72 hours unfolded in a blur of medical procedures, debriefings, and tense negotiations. As Silas refined his treatment approach, government representatives from both species convened in hastily arranged secure conferences. The neural plague, now revealed to be affecting not only Vorak leadership, but spreading to broader population centers, created urgent common ground that transcended previous political disputes. On the 4th day, Silas found himself in a secure medical lab, monitoring Sala's neural network. The golden filaments now pulsed with healthy rhythm, her recovery progressing beyond his initial expectations. Your neural plasticity is remarkable, he observed. The regeneration rate exceeds human equivalent processes by nearly 40%. Sala watched him work with what he had come to recognize as admiration. You gave me life when your duty suggested otherwise. You gave Korth hope when tradition dictated impossibility. These are not small things. Silas Mercer. Just doing my job, he deflected, uncomfortable with her intensity. No, she countered, catching his hand in hers. The first deliberate physical contact between them, outside of medical necessity. Your job was to report an intruder, to surrender to superior force, to follow protocol. Instead, you chose compassion over duty, innovation over tradition, life over pride. Their eyes met, the moment stretching between them with unspoken potential. Different species, different worlds, yet connected by decisions that had defied expectation. The laboratory door slid open, breaking the moment. Korth entered, accompanied by Admiral Chen and several officials in formal attire. "Dr. Mercer," Chen announced, "the emergency session has reached a preliminary agreement. A joint medical task force will be established to deploy your neural regeneration treatment across affected Vorak territories, with full diplomatic protection." Korth inclined his head in formal acknowledgement. "The Empire has agreed to suspend military operations in disputed regions during the medical crisis. Your research will save thousands, perhaps millions of lives." "What happens after the crisis?" Silas asked. The practical question that neither diplomatic team had addressed. Admiral Chen and Korth exchanged glances. "That remains to be determined," Chen admitted. "But this collaboration creates possibilities that didn't exist before. Sometimes, treating the immediate wound creates space to address the underlying condition," Silas suggested, falling back on medical metaphor. "Indeed," Korth agreed, his obsidian eyes reflecting new perspective. "My experience has evolved my understanding of human capability. Others will undergo similar evolution as treatment proceeds." The officials departed shortly thereafter, leaving Silas, Sala, and Korth alone in the laboratory. A strange triangle of individuals whose choices had altered the trajectory of interspecies relations. "I am being recalled to the Empire," Korth informed them, "to oversee treatment implementation and report directly to the Imperial Council." "Will you tell them everything?" Sala asked. "About how a human doctor saved their commander when Vorak medicine failed?" "I will tell them the truth," Korth stated firmly. "That pride nearly cost us everything, and cooperation offered salvation instead." He turned to Silas. "Your approach to medicine, to life itself, contradicts what we believed about humans. This creates opportunity." After Korth departed to prepare for his return journey, Silas and Sala remained in the laboratory, the air between them charged with unresolved connection. "What happens to you now?" Silas asked. "You're considered a traitor for accepting my help." "Korth has granted me new designation," Sala replied. "Liaison to the Human Medical Task Force. My experience with your treatment makes me uniquely qualified." Relief and something more complex flooded through Silas. "So you'll be working with a joint team?" "With you, specifically," Sala clarified, "if you accept the assignment." Silas smiled for what felt like the first time in months. "I accept." Later that evening, they stood on a secure observation deck overlooking the desert. The sunset painted the landscape in hues of amber and gold that reminded Silas of Sala's bioluminescent neural network. In the vast emptiness, they found a moment of connection that transcended the politics and conflict that had brought them together. "Your world is beautiful," Sala observed. "Different from ours, but beautiful in its own way." "I'd like to see your world someday," Silas replied. "Under better circumstances." Sala turned to him, the dying sunlight reflecting in her obsidian eyes. "Perhaps you will. The treatment protocol will require cultural exchange as much as medical expertise." "Cultural exchange," Silas repeated thoughtfully. "That's one way to describe it." Their hands found each other again, alien and human fingers intertwining in deliberate contact. The golden filaments beneath Sala's skin pulsed in rhythm with her accelerated heartbeat, visible evidence of an emotional response that needed no translation. "When you saved my life," she said softly, "you could not have known where it would lead." "I never do," Silas admitted. "That's the thing about choosing mercy over protocol. The outcomes are unpredictable." "But worth the risk?" He looked at their joined hands, then back to her face, alien, yet increasingly familiar. "Always." As night descended over the desert, they remained together. Representatives of worlds that had moved from the brink of war to the beginning of understanding. Their unlikely connection, assassin and target, alien and human, enemy and healer, stood as living testimony to what might be possible when compassion transcended conflict. In the secure facility behind them, teams of scientists prepared for the largest interspecies medical collaboration in human history. Ahead of them stretched uncertainty, political complications, and cultural barriers yet to be overcome. But in that moment, watching stars appear in an alien sky with her hand in his, Silas found reason for hope. The neural networks that made their species distinct had proved more compatible than anyone might have imagined. Perhaps the same would prove true of their hearts and minds, different in structure but resonant in purpose, capable of connection despite everything that should have made it impossible. Somewhere in the vast darkness above, Corvith's vessel accelerated toward Vorak space, carrying news of unexpected salvation from an unlikely source. And on Earth, a human doctor and Vorak assassin stood together beneath unfamiliar stars, their futures now inexplicably intertwined by a single decision to choose life over death, healing over harm, possibility over certainty. It had begun with blood, an assassin bleeding out on a medical bay floor. It continued with light, golden neural networks pulsing with renewed vitality. Where it would lead, neither could predict with certainty. But, as they stood together under the desert sky, both understood that some boundaries, once crossed, transformed the landscape forever. To unlikely alliances, Silas murmured. To mercy, Sala responded, her voice carrying the weight of personal transformation. And what grows from it? Above them, the stars witnessed in silence, as ancient enemies discovered common ground in the simplest of shared truths, that all beings seek to live, to heal, and perhaps, despite every difference, to connect.